If I was a B2B company and I wanted to install an outbound system that consistently drove pipeline and qualified sales opportunities, this is everything that I would do in that process. If you're new here, my name is Ryan Bryden. I run an outbound agency called Breakout Creatives. We're helping B2B companies with 2 to 5xing their sales pipeline just through outbound in 90 days. We do email and LinkedIn outbound. In the description of this video, I'm going to have a few documents there that are going over very niche parts of outbound so that you can download them for completely free, give them a read, and you will have everything that you need to know, at least in my opinion, to create killer outbound campaigns and actually drive pipeline for your company. But let's get into this Miro board right here. So I spent some time this weekend really going over like what is everything, and this was actually more built internally for my team to kind of operate on, but I thought it would be helpful for other people as well. And we're going to kind of get into this on what is everything that you need to do to, come up with ideas, operate, and then make changes and iterations on outbound campaigns so that you are consistently, driving, creating leads, finding message market fit, and growing pipeline. And so this is what I got it down to. Now, this is going to lag a lot because I have a lot of text on the screen here, but when you are onboarding a client, well, I guess that's more if you're an agency, but if you're just building a campaign for your company, I got it down to 4 main things that if you focus on these 4 things and you're operating on these correctly and you're following these ideas that I give you in this video, I think there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to have a killer outbound campaign. The first one is going to be focusing on deliverability, right? So deliverability, there's so many companies that I talk to, and they still tell me that they are sending, they're sending emails, they're sending messages from their main domain, or they're doing it from like HubSpot, and they're like, oh yeah, well, like it hasn't really worked. I'm kind of confused why. That is why. Please, please, please. There's so many good inbox providers. I'm happy to include a few just off the top of my head. We've got Scale Mail, Premium Inboxes. I've heard the guys at Maildoso are good as well. Like there's 3 that you can use. They're pretty cheap, cost efficient, but please use different domains, get them from Pork Bun, and then use Premium Inboxes or Scaled Mail. And I promise you your deliverability will be a lot better, and stop using HubSpot or a CRM to actually send the messages of your emails. Deliverability is the first pillar that you should focus on, because if you get this wrong, everything else goes to shambles. It does not matter in the slightest. The next thing that you and your company should focus on when creating campaigns is going to be the list. Now, when it comes to the list, I made a few posts on LinkedIn recently about this because I found it really interesting how overcomplicated we were doing certain campaigns for clients of ours. And so the number one thing that I think you should do right away is take your top 3, take your top 5 customers, clients, whatever it is that your company currently has, and try to find more of them. Like, why would you not start there? Why would you try to, go after an entirely different market, an entirely different industry, when you can literally just take the customers or clients that you already have and already love working with and do a good job for, and just try to find more of them? So to do this, I would use pandamatch.io. Those guys are great. Or you can just go into GTO3, and if you do the deep research kind of setting tool that they have, you can ask for it there, and it does a pretty damn good job. So I would 100% start there. The next place that I would start in terms of building lists would be your own marketing materials, your own ecosystem that your company has. So this could be, old CRM data. So people that you've spoke to. I mean, I'm recording this in May right now. Maybe you spoke to people in the winter or in 2024. And, you haven't talked to them in 5 months. Maybe they're now in the market for your service. And so going through old CRM data is the easiest thing. I would say if you're a big enough company or have a big enough following, something like a newsletter. Like there's so much data. I mean, we're doing a campaign for a client right now, and they're relatively large, but the entire first campaign is just people on their newsletter. And I think I posted on the LinkedIn too, but we've done like 4 or 5 calls for them in the first week. It's going quite well. And like, of course, I mean, they already kind of know the brand. Like, it shouldn't be that hard for us. But like, why would we start somewhere else? You know what I mean? I think using social media followers as well. You can use a tool like Trigify.io. I see those guys posting there a bunch. They seem to be great to scrape social media following and people who already know you. Don't make things more complicated than they need to be. You really don't need to do that. Um, the other two kind of ideas that I have for list building might not be as relevant for if you're not an outbound agency. Because, as I was saying, this was kind of made internally. But I would just say try to come up with what I'm just calling a USP, so a unique selling proposition, whether that's something location based, something about your company, come up with a really cool lead magnet or some kind of free work that you can do for a company. I think those are all great valuable angles after you've kind of exhausted maybe some internal resources. You've already tried finding lookalike companies, and then you've also pulled some CRM data or some social media followers of yours, and run a few campaigns to them. And then the final thing I would do in terms of building lists would be, looking at signals with companies. So whether they're hiring, maybe, I try to stray away from the whole, oh, they just raised funding. It's just really exhausted. I don't think it actually performs that well. But I think there's a lot of creative ideas that you can do with hiring's a big one. And honestly, just like changes going on within a company. If it's somebody's first time in a role, if they've only been in the role for maybe like a few months, a lot of stuff that you can do there. But just these four campaign ideas here is, in my opinion, like you can exhaust these so much. If you do the proper data scraping, it should be pretty simple to run campaigns with these ideas for an extremely long time. Getting into the other two things with campaign building is going to be the offer. When we start working with companies that haven't, or they've only done outbound in-house before, a lot of the messages and the offer and copy that they're using is just extremely complicated. Like when I was first getting into outbound writing and I guess outbound marketing in general, I was always told you should be writing at a seventh or eighth grade reading level. Like if somebody who's 13 years old cannot understand what you're saying to them, then your message is too complicated, right? And I really do think it holds true. And so much of copy is overcomplicated. You're just saying things you don't need to be saying. Like it's not good. So simplify the hell out of your offer, what you're actually saying. Make sure it's abominantly clear. The other thing is like trying to make sure you're distinguishing from a current process between somebody that you're getting in touch with. Let's say, we had some software product that helped with like payroll or something like that, right? There's a really important distinction that you have to make where you are showing that whatever solution you provide is that much different than what they currently have in place, because there's the idea of switching costs and well, if the proposed solution isn't that much different than what I currently have, why would I change? And so that's something I would keep in mind in terms of the offer itself there. In terms of the actual copy, same kind of focus here. I don't like writing messages more than 4 to 5 lines. I think that is as long as you need to be. In terms of spin tax, I would spin tax 1 out of every 4 words maximum. No spam words. Examples of spam words would be things like free, money, using dollar signs is also something. Like anything that you would kind of traditionally see in those, spam or like phishing emails, straight away. Make sure AI personalization is properly added. And the other thing is, I would say try to be as casual as possible. Like when I look back on the best campaign we've ever run as a company, and like this is stuff that's generated like over 6 figures in pipeline and like some good stuff here. They're always extremely casual. Like it's never in some professional or corporate type of wording and languages. It's always extremely simple. And so I think companies get that wrong a lot of the time as well. And I totally get why. Coming across casual might not seem like it's the most professional thing, but in my opinion and from experience for like a year or two, it always performs better. So that's just something I would keep in mind. But those are, let me move my mic here a little bit. The 4 call them pillars when it comes to campaign building, that I think if you master these 4 things right here, that is all you're going to need to have killer campaigns. And I will also make sure that I share this this board in the comment section. Now, the other part of a service delivery like this, and please mind the lag here, I know this is brutal, is going to be actually getting these campaigns launched, right? So it's like, hey, Ryan, this sounds great. And I'm sure your company could come up with cool ideas, but like, how do I track this? How do I know if this is working? How do I know, what changes to make? So I think as soon as you launch a campaign, you should have 3 things that you're kind of looking at right here. So the first is going to be, okay, how many messages did we send? Right. So I think you cannot make changes. You cannot say, hey, this works, or hey, this doesn't work, until you send 2,000 emails. That should be dead simple. There's no reason that should take you longer than maximum 4 to 5 days. Make sure you send that amount, right? On the deliverability side, is our reply rate greater than 1.5%? If anything that you're sending is less than 1.5% reply rate, something is messed up on the deliverability side of things. You need to stop campaigns and you need to fix that right away. The last area that I would check is the positive reply rate. So of 10 people respond to us, at minimum, one of those 10 people should say, hey, Ryan, this sounds interesting. Can you send more information? Right. And so I think from 2,000 emails sent, if you're generating roughly 5 leads from that, I think that that's a campaign that you can truly scale and that you can add on to, and can be 100%, depending on the product or service that you offer, a ROI positive campaign, 1,000%. But these are the 3 things that I would look for every campaign that you launch. Make sure you're hitting all of these. If you're not, I would stop the campaign. I'd go back to the drawing board and I would try to figure something out that way. Something that we do to, I guess, maximize coverage and just making sure that we're hitting leads on multiple channels is, so simultaneously while campaigns are launching over email here, we're setting up a few things through LinkedIn to get connected with people over there as well. I like having 2 different channels that we can kind of get in touch with people on. So obviously optional, that is what I would do. Now, let's say, right, so you run this campaign here. Now, with these KPIs here, if they're not hit, what do you do? And if they are hit, well, how do I do more? How do I find more leads, right? I made this extremely simple in what we do internally here at Breakout in how to do so. If your campaigns are not hitting these 3 KPIs right here, I think there's 2 steps you have to do. Go into GPT-4 or go into Claude. You can do 3.5 or 3.7. I think they're both great. And upload the copy that you're using, tell it the market that you're getting in touch with, and tell it the metrics of the campaign that you've currently run, and say, can you help me diagnose the problem and come up with new campaign ideas? I think where a lot of people get stuck, 1 is not using these tools, but 2, when you're a human, right, and you're coming up with a campaign idea, there's a lot of blind spots that exist in, simply just not knowing, what your or why your market is not interested in some stuff. And that is why I think going to an LLM and almost like outsourcing your thinking, where you're like, hey, and you're talking to it like it's a consultant, right? And you're asking, hey, we tried this idea. We're targeting these people here. We got 1 lead off 2,500 emails sent, looking for something a bit better. How can I make improvements to this? Can you blah, blah, blah? And that is the exact prompt that you give to it. And then you can start to get new insights about your market that you didn't even know existed. And so that is how I would go kind of back to the drawing board and come up with new ideas based on that. And then once you've kind of done that, once you've found a new angle, once you've tweaked the copy, once you've maybe targeted a different job title within a certain company or organization, that's when I would rerun a campaign, target a new ICP, new idea, whatever it is, and you rerun this process. Is it hitting these 3 KPIs right here, right? Now, the other side of the ball for this is, hey, I sent 2,000 emails, reply rates 3%, positive reply rates 22%. I generated 7 leads, killer, right? How do I do more of this? How do I grow this campaign? How do I scale this? It's dead simple in my opinion, right? What you're going to do with the people that responded, so of those 7 leads that you just generated, when I mentioned back in the list building part of this video, I said I would go to pandamatch.io or I would go to GPT-3 and do deep research and ask either GPT or use Pandamatch and say, find 2,000 more companies like this one. And you take one of these 7 leads that you just generated and say, find me more of those, right? And what you're doing is, so by doing this, you can expand the TAM and you can kind of find these like micro pockets of like, if I'm targeting, let's say I'm targeting logistics companies, okay? What you'll find is that completely randomly, there will be these like super small micro segments within the logistics industry that will have an extreme interest for your product, right? Like it'll be like, and I don't know the space that well, so if this sounds stupid, I apologize. But, recycling manufacturers in Florida will be like, you'll get 5 or 10 leads from just that industry. And it's like, how was I supposed to know that other than running campaigns and just kind of finding out and finding more people like that? Like, don't make this more complicated than you need it to be, right? If you're getting people that are interested, that's the biggest data point that you can grab. Let's find more of them. And those are the 2 ways that I would do so. And then double down on the same message. If you're split testing copy ideas, go through, hey, I have 3 variants. Number 2 perform the best. Let's get rid of 1 and 3. Let's test 2 more against that one that performed the best. That's what I would do. And then you're rerunning this idea like completely, right? So then you launch again, boom. Okay, now is my next campaign where I just found more people hitting these 3 KPIs here. If it is, awesome, you've done your job. And you keep rerunning this until your pipeline is filled with as many potential customers as you could ever ask for, and your company is scaling to the moon. And so that is the entire outbound process that our team is running, that we are implementing. This will probably get more complicated. I'm sure there'll be a few things that we'll kind of add on, but that is basically everything. If you found this video helpful, drop a like, subscribe, and drop a comment as well. Like I said, if you want to check out Breakout and a bit more of what we do, will be in the description, as well as those master docs going over outbound ideas in the description as well. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Peace.